Guess who's back? Hello.
Hey everyone.
So we pretty much just wrapped up our first topic, vaccination, probably about 30 minutes ago, and we was about to go edit it for YouTube. And we pretty much was like, you know what, kind of in the mood to keep it going. Kind of once you get that conversation going and
Yep.
flowing, I think that's the best time to go on and have it. So we wanted to take advantage of the opportunity and go ahead and jump right back in it.
Yes, so we are going to jump right into talking about the school system, the education system.
Education system, education. You've heard it your whole life how
Mhm.
important it is. Get your education, go to college, do good in school, pay attention, do your homework,
Mhm.
study, prepare for those tests, all of that,
All of that, your
all of
whole
that,
life.
whole life. So I don't know if anyone ever stopped to like wonder why everyone pretty much learns the same curriculum,
Mhm.
learns the same curriculum. And when you think about the beginning in elementary school, they teach you to walk in a single file line, teach
Mhm.
you to walk with your finger, quiet with your hand on your nose,
To
out your
stay in
hand. Don't
line. Yep.
raise your hand if you have a question. Don't
Yep.
speak out of turn.
Yep.
Don't talk. So they kind of condition you to in a way can,
To stay in line, to be manipulated or to
pretty
be.
much to not think for yourself, to bow down,
Mhm.
to not have your own mind, be your own person. you know I just don't think that's the way it should have been.
Yeah.
So I really vividly remember that in elementary school, single file lines, finger over the nose, all of
Mhm.
that. Get
And
into middle school, it's a little bit more, strict. This is when, the detentions and in-house of school and suspensions come if you don't obey their
yep,
rules.
yep, you're
If
gonna get a punishment or you're gonna get some type of you're gonna pay in some type of way. So, like in my high school, my middle school, we even had to volunteer to pick up trash. So they kind of use you in a way to service them with the school.
you make it to high school and it's another ball game because
Mm-hmm.
now you're going to be dealing with more serious things because now they're trying to prepare you for your adult life. Now they're shoving college down your
College,
throat,
yeah,
SATs,
scholarships,
all of that,
yeah.
trying to make you. If you played in middle school, this is time to get serious. This
Hmm.
is time to get your grades together. This is your last time, their last opportunity that you're ever going to have to possibly have a
This
successful
is
life.
it.
Like
Yep, this
seriously,
is
they
it.
they, they
Yep.
really talk that
They
up.
put that pressure on you,
They
for
do.
real.
So, we got to thinking, like really breaking it down and thinking that, man, maybe it's kind of meant for everyone to think the same way, live in the same box, think alike, be taught the same thing, whether it's true stuff or not.
Hmm.
We just all have the same knowledge. So obviously everyone is not going to think 100% the same because we're all different. But if we're being fed the same stuff, we're going to think, similar.
Yeah,
We're going to think similar.
yeah.
We're going to feel the same way about the government because of what we learned about the government in school.
Feel the same way about history because of what we learned about the history.
Yep.
We're not going to try to seek the truth. We're gonna be in our box and we're gonna stay in that box.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and point out some downfalls that we feel the education system brings that actually hinders, a person throughout their life in their adult life, because that school system really shapes who you're going to be in your adult life,
Yeah, it shapes who you are, the your development of your mind
you're introduced to a lot
mhm,
through the school system.
for sure.
So everyone know pretty much it's a brainwashing system. That's just hands down. Everyone
Mhm.
know that. And anytime that they feed you material and they want you to regurgitate it and test you on it, just to see how well you learn that material. Pretty much brainwash you to
The
learn.
repetitiveness
Yes.
of it, make sure that you can, like you said, regurgitate the information and teach it to your family, teach it to your kids.
And
So
we're definitely not saying that there's no benefits to the education system. Obviously, people learn how to read, write, speak
mhm.
well. There's definitely benefits, but just like everything that they're doing, they're going to mix in a whole bunch of unnecessary shit. And then there's naturally a whole bunch of unnecessary shit that comes with
Yeah,
it.
there's a whole nother level of manipulation, of course. So.
So we already know once, segregation, occurred or whatnot, or what is it, desegregation? Yeah,
Desegregation,
and
yeah.
they mixed the schools. A lot of schools was predominantly white, so we
Hmm.
already know off rip that caused a bunch of racial tension. But we understand you have to start somewhere. You kind of have to get through that, But that's the way that they made it to begin with,
Exactly.
So
That's the way they set it
yeah,
up.
that's the way they
So
set it up. So that's just a phase that they had to go through because of how evil they wanted to be initially. Um, I don't know if you ever noticed, that whole black white thing that occurs at school. The school themselves have a lot to do with that as well. When it comes to, speaking on slavery or Black History Month, or, I remember doing plays. I remember having to learn the MLK speech. I remember, having to put on, different plays. Nowadays I see the type of slavery historical plays that a lot of the schools are putting on,
mhm.
and it will leave you with the most sour taste in your mouth.
Because of the way that they're depicting
Oh
black
yeah,
people.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw a politician, so who absolutely knows better, knows 100% how to be politically correct.
You would think.
And yes, and we're gonna have this edited in our YouTube video,
Mhm.
so it'll be there. It's verifiable. But this was elementary kids, and they were on a field trip. I guess it was like to an old plantation or something. And she had them like sit down. She was, talking to them, and she told them to like, close their eyes and imagine themselves being a slave.
So she told the children to close their eyes and imagine themselves being enslaved.
Yeah, close your eyes and imagine themselves being. So first of all, there's elementary,
Okay.
kids, so they can't even comprehend the first. I think
Wow.
introducing slavery to kids at that age is a no-no, only because they can't comprehend the depth of what really
Yeah, a
happened.
lot of them don't even
Even
see color at that point. They don't
Yeah,
understand the difference of
so
ethnicity.
that's the first seed that's planted in a child's life that automatically shows them, okay, there's a difference between us, and this is how I was once treated, and this is how you are superior to me. This is how the white person is superior to me, because in elementary school I just learned in the history book that we were considered at one point one third of a human, or whatever, two thirds, one third. At the end of the day, not full, like whatever the fuck it was.
Wow.
No, seriously,
We're a fraction of a human.
pretty much. So at one point, that's how we were viewed. I'm sure there's some people that still view us like that today. Whatever. Get over it. Get over it. I mean, if you want to be real, we fucking slaughter them. I mean, come on, let's be real. And I'm not even trying to turn this into a racial thing at all. But I'm
It's
just,
not, but that's why they
like, I mean,
wanted to
like
use.
sports. I mean, anything. Like, come on, bro. Like, be for real.
Yep.
So one third, two thirds. I don't know.
Right, we can
Whatever.
still the black man can still take on the white man, and they know that, and they use that to their advantage. So we'll get into a lot of that, the depths of history, in
Right.
a later episode.
Yeah, so I kind of jumped on that little tangent, but back to my point I was making. So this is when it's introduced, to the kids and plant that seed in these very young. Their brain is still developing. I'm talking about elementary, school
Yeah,
students.
it's the
Plant
most
that
important
seed
developmental age.
about what happened in the history, and even if you go by the narrative of the history books, it's still a fucked up situation. It's still gonna have that 8, 9 year old little boy or girl at home wondering why were we treated like that, because that's how they're going to correlate it. Because when you say this is how black people were treated, they know they're black, so they're going to automatically be like, oh, they're going to feel like they were a part of that, indirectly, and they're going to be like, I wonder why we were
Absolutely.
treated that way.
Yeah.
And then they're going to start comparing themselves to their counterpart, and boom, that's when kids start to build their own little, racism
Yeah, and
against,
vice versa
and
for the young
yeah,
white
and
child.
vice
They feel
versa.
like they're superior
Yeah.
to the black child, or
I went to a predominantly white high school, but I don't know about my elementary or middle school. I can't remember if it was predominantly one way or another.
because you don't
The
really
city,
pay attention
the
to.
city is predominantly white, so I'm guessing the
It
school
must have
system
been
in
white.
general. So I remember vividly. I had 2, 3 incidents. A white dude called me a nigger with the with the whether it was with the A, the R. I don't care.
You know what he meant by
And
it.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of my friends could verify this. Had to do what I had to do those days because even back in middle school, I already understood that difference, and you can't disrespect me by calling me that because I know the historical meaning behind that. I learned that in the elementary school. So by middle school, I already was hip to that shit. So anybody that was disrespecting me on those, bases, I was putting them in a place because I knew it was a demean, I knew how demeaning it was because the education system taught me that in elementary school. Think about that. Think about that. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have as much. I wouldn't even the phrase that phrase wouldn't
Yeah.
even exist if people wouldn't pass that phrase down.
It's passed on
The shit is written in history books. The shit is written, and I remember reading. It was either freaking Helen Keller book or Diary of Anne. One of those books that we had to read in middle school or high school, and it's written in those books. And I remember going around class reading. Everybody would take turns, and people would have to read the shit out. Seriously, like people would have to read it out.
They would have to say that.
People would have it. Wasn't like it wasn't mandatory, but you wouldn't get in trouble if you did it because you're reading.
No.
Like I'm telling you, but I didn't see white dudes get checked in school behind that. But I'm just saying that and I'm
pretty sure those same books are still in schools today.
And I'm not look. I have I have plenty white friends, like good, like please, please, like seriously. So it ain't even about that, and they know that shit. I'm just saying
that particular situation.
That's the way that education system, when they introduce, history or slavery at that young of an age, when you can't really comprehend it. And when I say comprehend it, I mean comprehend it in a way of understanding and realizing that it's not necessarily going on to that extent now, so it shouldn't affect you to that extent now. You don't understand your feelings or your emotions at that age, so you kind of grow up with this pent up animosity against the opposite, race for something that happened back then, all based on a narrative that the education system brought into your life.
Exactly. And if it wasn't brought into your life, you wouldn't feel any type of aggression towards another race or any type of segregation towards the other race.
Right. So that was one point that we wanted to make. I want y'all to let that shit sink in for real.
Yep.
So another one is testing students. So this is the best way to show someone who's better or who's smarter than the other, to make someone really feel insecure about themselves, to circle that 47 in red on their paper and put it on their desk.
Marker was always that red marker,
or call out the ones who got the A's or reward the ones who got the A's. That testing students, really in a way is really just to see how much information they can feed you and you can absorb and hold on to and comprehend and embed in yourself.
And again, it's the information that they're feeding you.
Right. But part of that, the backdraw is, the insecurity that students, feel that now you have to have a different class for students who tested poorly and they're going to get teased because they're in the quote unquote slow class. Like I had a friend in middle school. Like I didn't view him as a slow person at all, but he was in one of those classes, like dead serious. But till this day, and I'm not even gonna say his name, but some of my friends, if they watch, they know, never viewed him as like a slow person, but he was in one of those classes. But he had that stigma attached to him because they go eat lunch,
separately. They have their separate classes.
They don't get to change all 7 periods. I think they get like 2.5 periods.
I remember that. I remember that. And you would just crack jokes on them and hear everybody cracking jokes on them about how dumb they were.
That middle school, that's vicious. That's because kids don't comprehend a lot of the damage that they can cause. That's why I think like homeschooling probably, in my opinion, should have been the way to go, point blank, period. Leave that shit up to the parents.
Leave it up to the parents.
Let the parents teach the child what they want them to and not know, and whatever else they don't know, life would
Yeah,
teach them,
because
right?
parents really don't teach their children anything. Parents are too busy spending their entire day at work,
Because
and the kids are at school. The
they have
school raises them.
this saying, it takes a village to raise a kid,
Hmm.
and that is, in my opinion, true
True.
only because they made the village, meaning the education system, sports, the ROTC. That's the village they're talking about. So they're talking about when my child go to school. I expect them to, I expect you to pick up where I left off at
Hmm.
home. So how I want to raise my child, I expect you to raise them that way as well. But if we're being honest, that village is really what fucks your child up.
It is. It is.
That village is what's going to be what taints your child and introduce your child to so much stuff that they probably
Wouldn't
wouldn't
have
have
been.
gotten introduced to in their household.
Yeah, a
Like
hundred
seriously.
percent agree. 100% agree. Homeschool is the way to go. So, I mean, but even if you homeschool your child, they make it mandatory for them to still take the SATs, the ACTs, still take those state mandatory tests.
Hmm.
So,
Well, is it what by middle school? Is it by middle school when they start telling you, "Hey, think about what you want your career
yeah,
choice to be," and they give you like list, doctor, whatever,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I think when they start doing that,
Hmm.
maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe it put too much pressure on someone to think, about what they want to be at that time instead of just kind of going with their flow, and then being pitched different career avenues, and maybe those wasn't even avenues that you naturally would have thought of, but since they put it in front of you, now that seed is planted and now you want to maybe be a lawyer, when
Oh,
naturally you probably would have been an
absolutely.
architect if you maybe was at homeschooling, and the bulk of your day that you spend at school, maybe you outside chopping down trees and
Yeah,
yeah,
building and
you
creating.
know building a natural skill
Hmm.
in the progression of your life
Hmm.
versus being taught a whole bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, a whole bunch of nonsense that you don't even use later in life. Use geometry. I guess you kind of use geometry.
When you use geometry,
You don't.
I don't.
Use
I
a ruler
mean,
every now and then. That's as close. That's as close as it gets to using any type of mathematical. Like the compass. You
yeah,
had to
bro.
use all type of shit.
Oh my
Like, do
god.
you remember that? Who uses
Bruh. I remember
that?
my mama used to be so pissed off when she has to, but when she used to have to get our school supplies, and
Yeah.
it was
Oh
six of
Lord.
us, and it was six of us or whatever.
Poor kid.
So anytime she had to get school supplies, it was like seriously, it was a task.
I
And
bet.
the in elementary you had your own list of dumb shit that you had to buy, like the little compass thing that the pencil went into, that circled
All
around the
type
ruler,
of
the
shit.
coloring. We ain't never had the coloring, the plastic coloring box that a lot of those people that had my
I
bruh.
had that. I gotta have
But
binders for every
you know what that
period.
does? You know what that does? That creates immediately jealousy. Because I could tell you in elementary school, I used to envy some people who had the nice binders that had the zipper or that
Hmm.
had the Velcro or had the day planner built
They was
into
stacked
it.
because their parents could afford to buy all of
No,
that.
seriously,
Yeah.
and that's what happens. Naturally, when kids can't comprehend that,
Mhm.
they're gonna go to school and they're just gonna observe and see this person got and I don't, and
Mhm.
just correlate it to maybe their, you
It's
never
gonna
know.
cause jealousy or insecurities or
Yeah,
aggression, maybe.
yeah.
So
Shit, I'm sure there's been some people that got their ass whooped just because that other person was envious because I think that's what they refer to as hating.
yeah,
Like for
hater.
real. I mean, that's back in elementary school, but shit, it still applies.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
So I don't know how your school was. She's from Colorado. I'm from
Hmm.
Louisiana. So up north, down south, totally different.
Hmm.
But my school, lunch, recess, separated. When I say separated, I mean the black section and the white section. Lunch tables, we already knew whose was who. Recess, there was a gazebo out there that was built.
And you guys
That's
just naturally separated
yeah,
yourselves,
naturally.
and
And that, like seriously, when I think about it, it wasn't like any like racial tension at the school
hmm
to where it was like, oh, a race war about to happen or something. It
hmm
was nothing like that. I'm not even saying that. the school I went to is even remotely racist. I'm just saying factually how it was, and how it was it was a clear separation. Now you did have your 2 3 white dudes who
Who was down with the I feel you
so
down
it
with the
wasn't so it
clown.
wasn't like a getaway type of thing. It was just how it naturally happened. Now this was middle school. This was middle school. So how do you think that naturally that separation naturally happened in middle school?
They were taught that.
In elementary school. So
Yeah.
by the time they made it to elementary school, they had them built up that chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And it's to the point to where I'm going to hang out with mine because I'm naturally more comfortable with mine.
And
because
we have to stick together.
We have to stick together because if not, they gonna whoop our ass and put us back in that fucking field.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm sure
that's a mentality of a child who can't comprehend the depths of a lot of the shit that's being introduced to them. Seriously.
Yeah. And how crazy for a child to have to think about that. You know what I'm saying? To have that heaviness of the reality of the world just weighing on their shoulders at that young of an age, when they need to be focused on, as you said, just enjoying life and enjoy being a kid, really. Because you're only a kid once, and you're old.
That's a lot of stress for a kid. That is intentionally put in so much stress on it. I don't even know if they think about it like that, but seriously, break that shit down. You're putting so much stress on the kid.
I don't think people think that kids go through stuff or stress about stuff or
kids
feel like
are the
that
most emotional. When they don't get shit, what they do? Throw a temper tantrum. They're the most emotional, at those ages. You don't. There's adults who still don't learn their emotions or learn to understand them. So it's like that natural progression in life. The younger you are, the less you understand your emotions. So that's a very raw age, to be introduced in something like that.
Yeah, and even like the separation. This kind of goes into the separation that you feel the status from money, your money status.
Oh yeah,
you have better clothes than me. You have
better
nicer
clothes. How people are judged in elementary, middle school, especially middle school. That's that very very in high school too. People were judged immediately by their shoes, how they dress. I remember we had uniforms in middle school and high school, but initially we didn't. My middle school initially we didn't have uniforms, so I had to suffer through going to school. That's serious, going to school wearing my older brother clothes that didn't quite fit. Going to school with wearing school shoes that I ended last school year with, and and everybody else fresh to death. Now we did have years that we were lucky to indirectly, by relatives, my aunts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was far in between though, and that wasn't every year like everyone else.
But it's times where and you feel that, like you feel like people staring at you because your shirt because they know your shirt is way too big, or they know your pants is cuffed up like 8 times. And when you go to dress off for PE, they see that fucking leg. Like, I'm dead serious.
Yeah, so you're subjected to jokes. You're subjected to feeling like you're beneath someone.
Yeah, so. Like seriously, even outside of people being verbal about it, you still will internalize that stuff because you're comparing yourself to that other person that has all of that new stuff. So they don't even have to say anything, but at that age you're going to internalize it and compare yourself to them and feel like your clothes make you, your shoes make you, so I'm less of a person if I wear raggedy shit. Like for real, seriously.
No, for real. That's exactly how you felt. So other children felt like that, and other children still do feel like that. I mean, and you still carry that to this day. So it allows people to carry a lot of insecurities later on in life.
I remember, and this was in middle school. This is when we switched to uniforms, and it was khakis, tan khakis, and a blue shirt. That was our colors. The tan khakis, I had some shorts that I used to wear. I'm not joking, literally like every single day. Not by choice, just had to. So I wore them every single day. But I used to, iron them, used to keep them clean. My mom taught us, iron your clothes, present yourself well. But I remember I had a little hole in the back by the back pocket. I remember that. And I used to try to wear longer shirts to try to cover that hole up because I didn't want somebody calling me out on it. And I remember in art class, girl called me out on it. It was like, I done noticed you wore them shorts 2 days in a row.
It's always that one girl. Always that one person.
When I tell you, my heart like immediately like sunk. Oh my,
bet.
like body temperature went up like 34 degrees immediately. Like I still get embarrassed thinking about that moment.
That
like,
moment,
not,
how
yeah,
embarrassing
that,
it was. Yeah, yeah, it was real embarrassing.
I was,
yep, getting choked up.
Right. No,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that's you know,
Yeah.
that's I wouldn't have been. I'll put it to you like this: I wouldn't have been embarrassed at home. If my brothers knew I was wearing that shit every day, I wouldn't have been embarrassed.
Mhm.
So if I was being homeschooled, in other words, I wouldn't have been embarrassed. I wouldn't have had to go through that. You know, I wouldn't have been introduced to the comparison of this person has so much. And then you know what else that does? That may make you think that your parent doesn't do enough for you or doesn't, like seriously, you may start feeling like
start resenting them or
Mhm.
feeling some type of way towards your parent, like you don't love me as much as
like,
they love their
yeah,
child,
like, what
or
you not doing?
what are you not doing? And they could be busting their ass harder than their parent, and it just life works out that way.
Or it could be that the system was created for your parents to not be as successful as that next person's
ding,
parent.
ding, ding, ding. The
Just
way the
saying,
system was
man.
set up. So, and you just so happen to fall in a certain bracket of the system. So,
Now, did y'all have ROTC at y'all high school?
yeah, we absolutely did. ROTC was pretty big. I mean, it was relatively big at my high school. I was never into it, but
I think I'll be honest. Me and my friends, my brother could even vouch for this. We used to avoid them like the plague, like the recruiters. Nothing is more irritating than finishing your lunch and wanting nothing more to do than to just hang out with your friends.
Mhm.
If you choose to go play football, if you choose to go play basketball, if you choose to just chill out.
You got a certain amount of time
and
to
you
do
got
it.
somebody pressuring you to join up to sign your life away to the military. You don't know shit about the military. Like,
they got tables set up. They got brochures handing out, business cards handed out. So they ready to.
They try to get you with the little magnets for you to take home and put on the refrigerator and think that they persuade you with that shit. Like, be art, man. Nah, man. I remember, for some reason, I don't know if it was, and to be honest, it probably was watching, black movies, back in the day, like Boys in the Hood. I was young when I watched that, and it stuck with me when Trey was like, my dad told me a black man don't have no place in a white man's army.
Mhm.
That shit like that stuck with me, so I kind of already knew that was something I wanted to, kind of avoid.
Yeah.
And not to mention, my dad was in the military and he turned out to be such a great person. So
right, so
why would I,
Yeah, so that makes sense. So you had some influence to not join
to not do it. So,
which is good. A lot of people don't. A lot of people have influence to join the military.
Or a lot of people influences come in high school when the recruiters come sell them that dream.
100%.
Oh, we're gonna pay for you to go to college. Oh, you could play sports there. Oh, I want to be a basketball player. Oh, did you know?
I was one of those people.
Everybody
about that.
There's gonna be some people that laugh at this shit right here because there were so many recruiters. If you know how in middle school you might have that child ideal dream of, oh, I want to go be a professional athlete. So if you say I want to go play basketball in the NBA, they gonna kick some shit at you like, oh, David Robinson played basketball in college and he started in like the Navy or some shit like that. So they're gonna try to pull their athletes who did some time in the military. And show you that, oh, they still went to the look. Military, in my opinion, is no place for anyone to go. Point blank, period. The only reason why the military was created was really just so a motherfucker could play bully against to flex on other countries, to say, seriously, like power in numbers, perception. Yeah. And then if we need to fuck shit up, we gonna go fuck shit up. And the
military generates a lot of money as well. That's a large
military generates a lot of money. Military burns a lot of money. You know how much wars cost?
A shit ton. And we're in debt because of supposedly wars, but What would we at war for? That's a whole nother question for a whole nother
I don't even
episode.
know.
What
Look,
we're at war
I don't know. We
for,
still
but
at war. I don't know if it's over. I don't know
we
if
don't
it's.
know what's going on.
I'm so detached from the political world, and I do not plan on reattaching myself probably in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Like for what?
Yep. And I mean, yeah. So that goes right into what violence at school.
So violence at school. I remember the first time that I ever heard of any violence occurring at school. I actually was in middle school,
Mhm.
and I think this is when the Columbine situation happened.
Oh yeah, that was around your middle school.
I remember when the Columbine situation happened, and I remember my middle school. They talked about it. Even passed out a little flyer that had a poem written on it.
Wow.
I actually kept that. I don't know if I still have it, but I promise you,
keeps a lot of
I kept that thing. If I got rid of it, I probably got rid of it within the last 2 years when we moved. That's how long I've had it or whatever. But
Damn.
I remember it. But that's the first time that it got introduced, and it seems like it just won't stop. Like it's gotten so far out
The
of
shootings
control.
at schools.
Like
Yeah. It's ridiculous, and the violence at schools, I feel like, is contributed to like our last episode, what we're being pumped and plumped with: vaccines, our environment, the
something
school
got to be
bullies,
causing these,
the emotional state.
crazy, aggressive behaviors in students all of a sudden. I understand. Now, this is why we say, and we're not just saying that to be stupid. This is why we're saying you have to catch every one of our episodes because there's so many things that we touch on in a topic that's broken down, and we're trying not to mesh it. So some things we don't want to commingle and we're trying to avoid saying, but at the end of the day, it's going to all intertwine, but
Yeah, so definitely give it a watch and make sure you watch our previous vaccinations episode as well, because it definitely ties into what we're talking about today, and contributing to the children and the education system.
Yeah. So if time goes on, when I was I don't know what year I was in middle school. I don't even want to. It was back in the day. So that was one of the first school shootings that I've heard. That I was introduced to, and it just seems like
you said the Columbine.
And it seems like then is double, triple, quadruple,
it's
and
so
I'm saying
common.
there has to be a reason. In the vaccination may have something to do with causing aggressive behavior, and there's also other things like things that's introduced to us through social media, through TVs, through movies, through whatever, and those are things we're going to touch on.
We're going to touch on all of those individual things that contribute to the psyche of a person, and why they may go shooting up a school. So. What was it? 288 school shootings
since 2009. 288 school shootings in the U.S.
Wow.
Since 2009.
10 years, 288.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's crazy.
It is crazy. That's ridiculous. And all of those clearly weren't publicized. We didn't hear about the whole 288
I'm looking at that number
school
like,
shootings.
damn.
Heard maybe about 12 of those, 12, 15 maybe.
And then obviously they're not going to publicize all of them because they don't want parents to just start snatching their kids out of school and say, you know what, I'm done with this shit. I'm gonna keep them at home.
The education system's a moneymaker.
They're gonna make it sporadic and just enough to worry you, but not enough to make you pull a trigger on. Hold on, it's been 288 in 10 years. Something's not right with that number. Something is definitely not right with that number.
Dang, that's crazy. And they say a lot of people go shooting up schools for attention, and that's just crazy. You want some attention? They're not getting it at home.
That got to be
deeper.
Some attention, that got to be deeper than attention.
That's some crazy shit. That's your brain's being played
I just never had that thought. Never once had that thought about shooting up a school or doing anything to other than fighting a student. I never had a thought of harming someone else past fighting a student at school.
Maybe not you harming someone. You may wish a teacher or something that you didn't like or get along with just didn't show up to work one day.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm
not gonna lie. I had a basketball coach in high school, and my friends know who I'm talking about. Basketball coach out there in high school. That's probably one of the first person ever. wish death upon. But that's another story. On you know, that's back when I was young and immature, didn't understand my feelings. I wouldn't. I don't feel that. I don't feel
Emotional.
that way now. I promise you. I hope you're living. I hope you know.
You're doing
I
well
hope
in
you're
life.
doing well. I don't feel that way now. But that year, boy,
Yeah.
that year. If only you
Sometimes
knew
it
what
be
I
like
was
that.
thinking. If only you knew what I was thinking.
So I was like, but you wouldn't actually cause him any physical harm or put him any harm's way. So, right.
Right.
Okay. So, yeah, but
A lot of the violence, you know, that we're
Mhm.
talking about that happens in school also attests to. We're just going to touch on a little bit the media. You know, the media helps keep it alive. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of the information is initially sent out on their airways, you know, and is presented to millions of homes in a country, introducing them, letting them know about storylines about the kid who lost it and went did this to the
Yep,
bully,
feeding them
to the
storylines.
bully,
Hmm.
like seriously, that's planting seeds. Like, oh, I have a bully too.
Yep.
Like, oh, that's how you resolve bullying. You
Yep.
know, they'll try to do that double talk, like, oh,
Hmm.
this, we're against bullying and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, they're going to tell you about what happened. So, and there's no restriction on who watches it. Come on. If you go to any website and it's supposed to be age restricted, all it is okay that you press. That's all it is. They don't even ask you for a little bit as a date of birth. They don't even ask you for that. It's just okay, 18 and older.
Mm.
Seriously.
Wow.
Seriously. And I only know that because some of the not like the nasty videos, the you got me messing up. It's not them uncut videos. It's the like when they show like the shootings and the police shootings
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that, and they be like, this is gonna be, discretion or whatever.
Yeah, they have to make sure
I don't
that
watch
they
some other
disclose that.
videos. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
watch that type of stuff.
Good guy.
No, but seriously, the media, throws it out there for the world to absorb for
Then think
these.
it to normalize it almost for them to think that
It happens.
it happens
Yeah.
all the time. So I can go down to the school and shoot it up.
But when you show that's how someone resolved an issue, even if it's the wrong way, you're showing that it was a way, and someone else who may be trying to resolve a bullying issue in other ways may not have thought of that way and may have tried other ways, and those ways didn't work, and now he's like, well, shit, I've never thought of that way, and it seemed like that's my last resort.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. Seems like it's their last resort to go there and just shoot up the school.
So we're going to call a spade, and all of these teachers that are out there having sex with these students, you nasty ass pedophiles, nasty ass pedophiles. What you mean?
It ain't all of them now, but yeah, the people are nasty, having sex with them children.
Not all of them. All of them bastards nasty. If they're adults and them kids are under the legal, then they nasty pedophile bastards.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
how I feel about it.
they're definitely the nasty pedophiles.
Don't take up. You was just taking up on.
No,
That's
but
your
was
friend.
it nationwide?
Don't change the subject.
Nationwide since 2014, an average of 450 teachers are arrested for sexual misconduct. So all 450 of those motherfuckers are nasty.
400. Now listen to this.
They children.
450. I know that's since 2014, but 450.
Yes. So
it's just UPS distracting me.
Yeah, UPS walked up on us. We just had to see who that was.
Yeah.
But so pedophiles. I mean, there's so many largely broadcasted situations of pedophiles in school. There's so many stories of pedophiles in school where the teachers have married the children later on in life and had children with them, just having a wonderful life together.
I mean, at the end of the day, if it's getting out of hand and it seems like the amount is increasing year by year,
it is.
then I don't understand
Are they running
how.
background checks on these
Why why
teachers?
why
Psych
why
checks?
why is
Like
that
what?
why is the
What?
education system still such a important commodity if all of this shit is pretty much going on and occurring? Like, I mean, think about it. When you really think about a pedophile, right? When you really think about that and you think about what they're taking from a child, you think about the depth of it and how that child is going to, their path in life is going to dramatically change, after that event, whatever happens. Yeah, that nigga distracted me. And then you ain't got to get it. He'll get the picture. He gone.
So yeah. Also, what is largely done in schools is drugs. So
yeah, drugs. I know. I don't think elementary school. I don't. I can't remember in my day anyone ever bringing drugs to school in elementary.
I remember a couple times,
middle
not
school.
in the elementary, not in elementary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nah, I
By
don't know
time,
what
yeah,
you doing
yeah,
bringing
yeah.
baggage of weed to elementary
Yeah,
school.
by the
but
time you got to middle school, I think there was a lot of kids that was actually
selling?
experimenting by that time. And if you're experimenting, then you're pretty much going to be bringing it to school, not even as a point to sell it, but kids are stupid as a point to show it off.
Show it off. You're
off.
right. That's what kids want to do is show it off to their friends and try to convince their friends to just take a hit, skip class.
Now, you know what that's going to do?
What?
That boy that's at home that don't deal with that shit, that ain't got that shit in his environment, he's now introduced to, what is that? Oh, how it make you feel? Oh,
And
after school? After the basketball game?
Yep. And that's what they live for on a daily basis. They're gonna search for that high. So it's crazy. And
you used to smoke in middle school?
No, I didn't smoke in middle school. I did start smoking in high school though. Unfortunately, like maybe 10th grade.
I'm gonna keep it real. In middle school, I'm not even gonna lie. In middle school, and this is before they started selling cigarettes and stuff like behind the counter. This is when it was like out in the open.
I never seen that or paid attention to it.
Used to steal cigarettes. You used to go to the store and steal cigarettes.
That's crazy. They just asking for someone to come take it. They
and
got
I'm saying, and that was
that ain't cheap.
And that was middle school. So I'm just saying, that's the mentality of a middle school student. If they're doing that, then obviously they're going to be dabbling a little bit in drugs. I mean, the only thing I just smoked a couple of times in middle school, and that was about it.
You smoked in middle school?
Yeah, that was about it.
Oh dang!
It was introduced to me.
What, by kids at school?
No, ain't no snitch.
Okay. He ain't gonna say it, but I'm gonna get the answer.
Look at this.
So
first 48.
I've had a couple people in middle school and high school get caught like with weed in their locker.
I remember when they used to bring the dogs and
the
dogs.
Oh my God, I remember I was so scared. They brought a dog into our class and they said everyone stay still, and the dog just went one by one and just sniffed us. That happened a couple of times. My heart was beating every time because I know it smelled like it. I didn't have any on me, but I was super scared. But don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, seriously.
No.
This is another little angle. I don't know if anybody ever thought about it this way, but do y'all ever think that kids may undermine parents because of schools? Like, you're taught that your teacher is right, that your teacher knows. If I to put it to you this way, if you go home and say my teacher said that this is a fact, and your parents said no, it's not, your teacher's wrong, and you go take that test, what answer are you going to put on the paper?
You're going to put the one that your teacher gave you.
Exactly.
To make sure you get it right.
So that means that's the thought that you're going to embed in you, which automatically makes your parent wrong and a teacher right.
Right.
So my apologies, y'all. The camera actually went dead.
Yes.
I guess we should have had it charged up as we was doing it.
We are learning, but we plugged it in and we are juiced up and ready to go. So we appreciate you for hanging in there.
All right, and picking up where we left off, and in all actuality, we almost finished this episode, but picking up where we left off, I think I was speaking about how the school system, how it turns kids against parents, and it automatically teaches them that the teachers are right, and they they pretty much overrule the parents' knowledge or whatever the parents say is factual or whatever. So you don't think that the kids start to feel that and take that behavior home and start to act out, thinking like, oh, you don't, it's just that mentality that they have. If they feel that their parent is less of, then they're probably going to start to treat them
Oh, absolutely. They sure will. I mean, even going into the school system and the food that they serve at the school system, you're going to feed them crap because it's cheap to feed the kids throughout the day, and the parents aren't going to have a say so. Doesn't matter if the parent is a vegetarian or doesn't want to feed their child meat or whatever it is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's cheaper that way, and but there's still free lunches offered at school, I'm assuming, right? So
yeah, I'm
people
sure.
can't afford,
I'm sure it's and I know the whole thought of
hmm
homeschooling is such a like
far
far
fetched,
fetched
like.
thing now. When we speak on homeschooling, we're speaking on almost like a perfect world type of situation to where the parent isn't spending 12 hours at work, to where maybe they're only spending 4 hours at work, or maybe their work or their trade is
Something
taking care of their family, their gardening, or
they
the
can do at
produce,
home so they can spend time at home with their
I
children.
mean, in all
So,
actuality, we personally feel like the
mhm.
way that life should be. All of these businesses that exist, we kind of feel like they're for naught. At the end of the
It's for
day,
you
that
to be a
they
consumer.
yeah
It's for you to buy.
they don't serve any value to humanity. At one time, they
Mm-mm.
didn't exist, and humanity made it this far. So at the end of the day,
Yep.
they only exist to be in business.
Yep.
So our perfect world would just be not just chilling home sitting on your ass, but guard the important things, taking care of your family in a sense of taking care of making sure that you're gardening, you're the one who's doing whatever needs, whatever disciplining, whatever
You can raise your
teaching,
child. You
yeah,
can,
whatever educating,
yeah.
whatever skills you want them to build.
Uh-huh.
You're
Yep.
you're in charge of their development and being an overall great good person. Once they reach their adult life,
Exactly. You're in charge of who they
because you
become.
now
You can
have that
shape
time.
them.
Because now you have that time, and you have that time at home. You're not slaving at work,
Yep.
and then you're not wasting your money. So okay, think about this: slaving at work to turn around and waste your money. Slaving at work to turn around and waste the money you just earned at work by paying cable bill, Wi-Fi, all of these, things that at one time didn't
Didn't
exist.
exist. I remember going to work and getting paid and spending immediately $20 down at the little cafe at work. I was just spending my money, giving my money
You
back to my
find way, yeah,
job.
you find
Like,
reasons to spend it. They put
yeah.
so many products around you. Well, he's kind of going on a little tangent.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to talk more about that with you guys. But just to kind of stay with the education system.
Last point I wanted to make,
Yeah.
and this kind of applies for me. Really for everyone, but I put myself in these shoes a lot. So I feel that school testing, all of that really does not measure someone's individual intelligence at all. I could promise you. I'm just a GED recipient, like seriously. So I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a college degree, nothing like that. But I've taken the ACT test, and I've taken the ACT test 3 years after I dropped out of high school
Really?
without even studying
Studying.
or anything like that, and I still scored higher than a lot of people that graduated or whatever. But I knew I was never a dumb person. I just was so done with school at that point or whatever.
I mean, just because you didn't graduate doesn't mean that you're not an intellectual person or a
Right,
smart person
and
or can be successful.
right, and even saying that, in my adult life, I worked for a Fortune 500 company or whatnot, and worked my way up to leadership with just my little old GED, and almost every step up, I was competing against people who had degrees, this that, and the other, and I was able to still somehow separate myself, from them, in a sense of, oh, we rather go with him than them, even though that person on paper is more educated.
Yeah.
It's just paper education at the end of the day.
And I mean, half the people probably cheat their way through school anyway. So whatever. It's really a
Bruh,
bunch of
I,
crosses.
I went to college, for a couple of years. And speaking of cheating their way through school, this is how much of a joke. And we didn't even touch on college and how much of a waste that is, and how much
Yeah.
that's just meant for people to get in debt and further get conditioned, and
That
waste their
introduces
lives
fraternities and sororities and a whole nother level
of
of
unnecessary to your lifeness.
pretty much, pretty much.
Damn, what I was
You
saying.
struggle the whole 4 years unless you're fortunate to have rich parents. You struggle and just give over a whole bunch of money, like you said, create debt, a shit ton of debt that you're going to be working to pay off your entire adult life. So
Right.
it's ridiculous.
So this is how much college was a joke. So I went to college. Uh, Trying to think of the name of the college.
You don't remember the name of the college?
Yeah, it was in Louisiana. But anyway,
LSU.
no. No, it's southeastern Louisiana.
Cool.
So I went there, and I think it was my psychology class. The only reason why I chose that teacher was because someone who went there prior to me said, "Hey, choose this teacher."
He's a great teacher.
Why is because the teacher, she would not expect you to come to class. She told, like, on day one, she told you straight up,
Ooh.
if you could come to class and pass the test, then you're good. So not only did she not expect you to come to class on everything, the midterm and the final. If I'm lying, I'm dying on everything. When I tell you that she put every single answer on the board.
Oh, I believe it.
Every single answer on the board.
That's how mine works.
College course.
Yeah.
I ended up getting an A in that course.
Mm-hmm.
And only went to class literally about 3 or 4 times. Like, dead serious.
You did what she said. You passed them tests, and that's all that matters.
Don't know.
I know it's messed
don't
up, though.
Know dipshit. Yeah,
college.
don't know dipshit. Don't know anything who's in the book. Don't even know if I ever opened. Don't even know if I bought the book.
That's insane, and it's just so that they look good as well. They don't care about what you learn or what you.
Look, they getting that paycheck.
Yeah,
they trying to chill. You think they ain't burnt out doing that shit year after year after year, teaching shit that they look. They're adults, so they know a lot of the shit they don't use in their life, but they know they're teaching shit that they know. Students are going to. So they're going to lose steam. They're going to lose interest in that whole. Yeah. Oh, I'm here to develop minds. That shit is gonna, dwindle, and it's just gonna be like, I'm here for that paycheck.
There's far and few teachers who are really passionate about what they do. There's far and few teachers, coaches that you actually meet that are actually good.
Yeah,
people
but
but the majority.
My point is, I don't think that passion is longevity. I think it wears down eventually.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're teaching the same shit year after year. I mean, you're tired of it at that point, and then you have to control these badass kids, and then it's just like, it's too stressful. They can't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also with the situation with leaving the kids on the bus.
Oh, the school bus, yeah.
Yeah.
And this was at elementary school, so and at that grade, I thought that they had like helpers on the bus. That
right, you would think they help these kids.
Like,
that's what I thought.
Like one storyline was a child was left on the bus. Mm-hmm. Another storyline was, I think they flat out let the child get on the wrong bus multiple times, and that parent had to come up there and act her ass.
And the child was like 5.
Yeah,
so it's like, are you expecting this 5-year-old to find the bus and be able to do it on
they're telling him
to
calm down, and he's extremely mad, and rightfully so.
Extremely.
That this has happened multiple times, and we're gonna have this edited in or whatever, so y'all can take a peek at it. But yeah, he was extremely mad, and rightfully so. I would have been too. And the whole staff were trying to calm him down and tell him he's overreacting and he needs to,
just come to the back, just be quiet, come to the back. Like, no, this is twice now you left a 5-year-old in this crazy ass world by herself.
It's a whole human, a whole life. Like, they act like it was like, oh, her book bag was left, like.
It's insane.
It's beyond insane.
I mean, even teachers are fighting students. There's so many videos out there where they literally squaring up and fighting with these kids, talking shit to the kids. Like, I mean, like real deal at school. I mean, you back in the day with the paddle, but
they fed up with the kids' behavior.
Yeah.
And part of the kids' behavior, in my opinion, is it's a lot of different things, but the school system actually adds to that behavior shit too.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And
nowadays it's beyond it's such a lost cause, the education system, like in my opinion.
my opinion as well. I mean, I was
Look up every single day, look up videos of the generations. And I'm not saying that older generations don't get out and do dumb shit, but
no, this generation is pretty fucking dumb, if I'm being honest. I mean, there's smart kids out there, but overall, the generation is like the most docile cattle generation in ever. I mean, it's ridiculous.
monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do's. A whole bunch of them.
Pretty
Same
much.
hairstyles, same look, same just everything. They just all want to be alike. They all just want to be clones of each other, pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Crazy.
So, this was our third? 1, 2, 3? Third.
It's our third
Uno, dos,
episode.
tres
Yeah, so if you're-
episode.
we appreciate you guys for listening in. Today, while we talked about the education system and what we think about it and our opinions, we'd love to hear about your opinions. And if you want to have a conversation about the education system or even vaccinations at this point, let us know.
Let us know. Until then, we'll see y'all next time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Those who did, like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down if you didn't, and say why.
Yes, until next time.